So Dr. Lauer here just wanted to bring some people in today. We're talking about the importance of voting. So we feel like it was a good idea to bring in a couple community members, maybe a teacher, and then obviously a high school senior that we feel like is going to go change the world. We're really excited about that. So if you guys just want to tell us your names real quick, I think it'd be good for the community to know who we're talking to. Mr. Wynn, we'll start with you.
Hey, Josh Wynn.
Richard Solis.
Carson Bachta.
Great. And Mr. Wynn, what do you do here in town?
I teach maritime.
Teach maritime, and you grew up here in town, correct?
Yep.
Very good. Mr. Solis.
I own Gordo's Tires and Automotive and play with cars.
There it is. And you grew up here as well?
Yes, sir.
Were y'all like on the same football team or something?
Just good friends.
Good friends. There we go.
Senior at the high school and grew up here my whole life.
Very good. So we got a lot of people here. We want to talk to some locals about a couple of things. And we want to talk about next Tuesday is the last day to register to vote. I think that's what, October 9th, 10th, 12th? What do we got? October 10th is the last day to register to vote. And obviously, right now in legislation, there's a lot of big things going on. And so November voting is going to be coming up before you know it. A lot of people always know the time to vote whenever presidential debates come up because it's big. But there's a lot of stuff that goes behind the scenes, whether it's the House of Representatives or the Senate. But going on in November, there's a lot of things getting to vote. So we wanted to just talk about getting registered to vote. Obviously, we want people to have a voice. So Carson, are you 18 yet?
No, I will be for the next presidential election.
Okay.
So in June, I'll be 18.
Okay. All right. So you're kind of the same as me. I turned 18 in July. So you're even older than I was as a senior. Yeah, crazy. So it'll be really exciting. Hopefully you'll get registered to vote at that point. I believe at your high school last week, Mr. Edmonds came in and talked to you guys about voting in your government economics classes, or maybe your teacher did?
Well, I'm in the dual credit. So
Okay.
I don't recall him coming in.
Okay.
Period yet.
Okay, not yet. So maybe that's coming up this week. And so then we've got two community members here, Josh, Mr. Solis, getting registered to vote. Kind of talk to me a little bit about, what might hold somebody back in our community from going to vote, just in your opinion.
Well, registering to vote it's very important. But something that might hold you back is simply not knowing to register. I'm almost 40 years old, and in the last 5 or 6 years, I started getting into, I would say, local politics. But it's more of just understanding what you're doing when you go to vote. And it's really interesting. If you register to vote and your wrong address is there, for example, it'll change what locally you can vote, what you can and can't vote for. Richard?
I would say more of transportation.
Okay.
In life, just work and trying to get there on time. And I guess you can say the community is, like the Mexican American trying to get to go do it. It's just we're a little slower and we gotta wait till the last minute.
Okay.
So that's what I would say.
Yeah. And obviously, we have a high Hispanic population here in our community. I think I would consider our community a blue collar community. Lots of workers that are doing the jobs that our country is built on, right? The blue collar back.
Yeah.
So kind of what I'm hearing is one, maybe we just didn't pay attention, right? We say, oh, it doesn't really matter to me,
yeah.
Right? Or two, getting there is tough because whether we don't have transportation or maybe the other side of this is that we just don't have the time, right? A lot of blue collar people. I know my father worked a lot of late nights, a lot of early mornings. And the last thing on his mind was, to go vote. Although, I would say most of my father's evenings, once he was on the couch, was complaining at all how the voting ended up, right?
It was different times though back then.
Yeah, different times, right?
Yes, sir.
What about you? What do you think would stop a young person from voting? So let's imagine you were 18 or some of your colleagues that are your seniors. What do you think stopping them from registering to vote or might be holding them back from getting that done?
Well, I think one thing, they might not just care, and now, especially when they're 18, like now they finally have to worry about that and, just taxes and other stuff they have to worry about. And that's stuff they haven't been exposed to. So they might not care. But I do think now, with the internet and stuff, I've seen a lot more stuff about voting and going out there and, making your impact, especially like in 2020 with that presidential election, a lot of stuff online encouraging younger people to go out and vote. So yeah, those things are really, and I mean, I think more and more, I think now young people will hopefully start to vote more, especially now, like this election, I think there'll be a lot more youngers.
Yeah, absolutely. So kind of coming back to that then, so we kind of talked about some of the things that would keep people from voting. How can we make it easier as a community on people to get registered to vote?
Well, a local election that took place. Remember that bus that went around?
Mhm.
They would come and pick you up,
Pick you up and take you
to the voting place.
and drop you off.
Yep, and they kept a neutral. They didn't have any signs or billboards
No,
on the
it was
bus
just
itself.
people, and then some of the elders would go and pick up the other elders
That's right.
and take them.
So that was really cool to see.
Yeah, it was
I don't
the
know who
old. It
organized
was like
that.
it was like our grandparents, because there was not that many Mexicans at the time growing up, so they would go with each other, and if so and so grandma knew this so and so grandma would go get everybody, and then take them, and that's what they used to do back then here.
Right.
And pick them up and take them, and then of course, it was just something for the ladies to get together to go have coffee on and talk about bingo. But but the bus that's a good idea.
Yeah, I think I'm not sure who organized it, but it seemed to be very effective.
Mm-hmm.
Other than that, like you
Put
said,
it in a place where you can still walk. Like it's like you got to have it in certain spots. Everybody goes to Walmart, everybody goes to HEB, everybody stuff like that. Why couldn't we have something out there? Or like back in the day was the VFW hall.
Yep.
And that's kind of like in the middle of town, and you could everybody could just drive by and do it. And then now it was in the library. Now it's where it's at, right by the library and the that road there. There's it's just out of the
Concho.
way. Yeah,
there's one on Concho, and there's one at the.
And there's nobody there that does that drives around to see that. I mean, it's just out of the way.
So basically, we got to make what I'm hearing is accessibility.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people don't have cars. I mean, Rockport's down right now. I mean, I work with a lot of people now, and the people here, it's just not the same. It's not, I guess you would say, the normal amount of people that are in town. Like, it's slower, and people are not moving around. It's not shuffling. And I'm out there every day, and you can tell by the cars and the people and coming in and coming out, and it's just not pumping like it was.
Yeah. So you, as a person that's working on cars, are seeing less vehicles come through. So
just less people out and about.
Wow.
You still. I mean, of course, Rockport goes to bed at 10:00, but before 10:00, Rockport's still alive.
Yeah.
But I mean, as in traffic wise, tourism, people coming in and out, us as a community, they're not out.
Gotcha. Carson, what do you think? So kind of looking at it from a younger generation, how do you think we could get people? So obviously it seems like we want to maybe help people get to the voting stations, but before we can even get to the voting stations, first we have to make sure that we are registered to vote, which is what is coming up. So how do we get people registered?
Well, I think, obviously accessibility is like a big thing about it, but for the younger generation, I think if you can engage them more in their politics and make them care about the issues, that'll make them want to go register, and they'll find a way to get out there. If it really matters to them enough, then they'll make the effort to get to the polls and vote for what they think.
But I guess you have to make them want to vote, though, too.
Yeah.
They got to see what it's going to change there.
Yeah.
And that has to be intrinsic. That has to come from inside. Like, you have to want to vote to change something.
Yeah. Definitely.
And and as me, you don't think about that anymore. You just like, oh, okay, well, we're just going to work.
Yeah.
Another day, it's another $1. We still got to pay the tax man. It doesn't think like, oh, it's going to change anything.
Now, when we vote for larger scale, like presidential elections, I feel like we have less of an impact. But local politics is still a thing, and we have terrible turnouts.
Yes.
One of the things that we should be able to pass on to our youth, if I want to call it that, is that local politics is much easier to have a voice. Your voice is louder in a local election. If something's coming across the table and then you can vote for somebody, because we can hear them talk directly to you, even as in high school. You can go to these little meetings and little town halls and little whatever and hear directly, right, of what they're saying. And you can have a vote and you're like, yeah, I like what he's putting down. as opposed to presidential elections where a lot of it kind of gets
But putting it down
in the
and
fog.
also standing by it, that's the problem you get. Is you got a lot of people here that say they're going to do stuff, and it doesn't. It hits wrong. They tell you what you want to hear,
Yeah.
and then when it's time for the show, it's not there.
Yeah, so I think that's definitely some of the things on, and obviously this year there's a lot going on in not only national politics, but also obviously, and I'll call state semi-local because state politics probably have a greater effect on us than the national politics. So I think that's some of the things. So I think what I'm hearing is, and y'all correct me, is really accessibility and how do we motivate people to understand what's going on in our local politics. So that's some of the things that we might be asking for some of our community members. Hey, how do you help us get the information out? And then how can we use, one of the big ideas that we had, so kind of like the bus was like, what about at a football game if we had, all the register to vote papers ready to go, and hey, on your way in the football game, if you're not registered to vote, here it is. We'll just take it right back and we'll turn it in for you. And then at least you're ready to go and you can start looking at what's on the ballot yourself.
That's a good idea.
And it's really easy to overthink these things too. So like putting up a register to vote at a football game, that sounds pretty doable as opposed to let's create an app or something.
Yeah. I don't think we have time for that,
Exactly.
but I think a football game is good. Any other ideas from you guys that you feel like would be good for us to incorporate?
The bus, I still stand by the
Yeah.
bus.
Yeah, I think we have access to those.
I think you know a guy or two.
Yeah, that's good. Well, I really appreciate you guys coming out. I'll give you kind of a chance to say something if you want to in terms of motivating people to vote or what voting means to you. If you want to take about 5-10 seconds and say something about that for yourself, and then we'll move forward.
For me, when it comes to voting, I didn't care about it until I did. And when I did, I realized I wasn't registered. So there you go.
I'm one of the ones that didn't know nothing about it, and I'm learning about it as we sit today. So we're gonna register to vote.
Welcome.
Yeah, and I think it's important that we start early. Like they kind of said how they kind of didn't care at first. So if we could care at first, we get everybody's vote and everybody is kind of represented.
Wise man, the three wise men. Well, thank you guys for joining me today. Hopefully you enjoyed it. Hopefully you enjoyed our new podcast room at Rockport-Fulton ISD. We're really excited what's going on here and looking forward to see you guys again soon.
Sweet. Thank you, sir.
Thanks. All right, Rockport family, we're really excited to offer the opportunity for you to come out to the football game, cheer, get loud, cheer on our students from the band to the Emeralds, the cheerleaders, and the football players. But at the football game, we're also hoping that you will register to vote. That night, we have our voter registrar, Mr. Edmonds, coming in to collect your forms for you, as he is our registered voter registrar for the high school at Rockport-Fulton High School. And he'll be there to collect those forms and get them to the county office for you. So we're really excited to offer you up this opportunity to get registered to vote. Anybody that does need to get registered, please let us know, and we are here to help. Thank you, and have a wonderful day.